Thank you so much, Suzanne, for joining us on another episode of Golden Llama Show. How are you today?
I am so well, Andred, and I am loving being here. Thank you for inviting me.
Today, we're gonna mostly talk about Feng Shui. And Feng Shui is one of those art that has been around for so long, approximately or at least 5,000 years. And guess what? It is used by major corporation, luxury holders. Can you tell me how can one incorporate Feng Shui principles and what impact can be seen by this art on the clients or people that want to use it?
Feng Shui, first and foremost, is something that you can use in any home, any business, any building. And that goes from the biggest mansion or government house right down to a studio apartment. You can use the principles of Feng Shui. You're right, it's been around for over 5,000 years. And although people think it's Chinese, it's actually the whole of the Far East. There are elements of it in Japan, in Indonesia, in India. In India, it's known as Vashtu Shastra. Slightly different arrangement, but very much the same principles. And what we work on is something that I call a bagua. I know you would phrase it pakwa, but a bagua is basically a map of the home. And in ancient Chinese history, that bagua was an octagonal shape. Now we use it as a grid of 9 equal squares. Imagine a tic-tac-toe board, and that's the grid that we lay over a house or a building. And that gives us 9 distinct areas that we work with. And the Feng Shui law says that each of those areas relates to a different part of your life. So, for example, the north represents your career and your life. So you might go and have a look, get a compass on your smartphone, find the north of your home and go and look and see what's going on there. And it might well reflect what's happening in a career. The south is about your reputation. It's about how people see you, how they respond to you, how you're known by the people around you, by your community. Now, if you are a politician and you're having a particularly bad time, I'd be saying to you, go and see what's going on in the south. Have you brought something new into that area? Are there pictures which represent this bad news that's going on around you? Let's clear it up. Then we talk about the West. Now, the West is about new beginnings. It's about young children. It's about projects. A really exciting place to work on. If there's a fresh start that you want in your life, go look in the West. Wonderful place. But unfortunately for us this year, the West has got some pretty sticky, what we call in Feng Shui, sticky energy, which there are some remedies I would want you to put in there. Back over there in the East is about your family. And this is your siblings, your grown-up children, well, from teenagers onwards, really, your ancestors, your parents, your aunts and uncles. This is all reflected in the East, but it also represents the past. If, like many of us, you have to think about a tax return or the bills that you've paid, you keep those in the East because you want those in the past. You don't want them impacting on your life right now. Then we have the next sort of direction. So, for example, your Southeast relates to wealth. It relates to abundance and the blessings in your life. Now, many people in the world see wealth and abundance as money, cash. But for lots of us, there's also the blessings that we receive in different ways. An abundance of blackberries on my wall, or an abundance of buttercups in the field, or mangoes on a tree that is available for everybody. That's abundance. And I think for so many of us, we see abundance as purely money, and it really isn't. And you have to get out of the mindset that abundance is just the cash in your pocket or the balance on your credit card. Over in the Southwest, we talk about relationships. So this is a relationship with a significant other, but it's also about the relationship with yourself. And this is so important. So many of us, I'm in my 50s, but I see people of all ages and they've lost themselves It's rare to find somebody as centered and focused into where they want to be as you are, for example. So when we work with the southwest of a home, we're looking at both the energy of a romantic relationship, if that's what you want, or the strength of yourself as the unique, amazing individual you are. So I love working in the southwest. You might be able to tell that. The northeast is about your knowledge. It's about your spirituality. Such a fantastic place to meditate. If you have to have a particular spot in your life, and many people do, it's quite difficult for some people just to go for a walk or sit in a field or on a park bench and meditate. They have to have an anchor to help them do that. So if you're one of those people who needs that anchor, then use the northeast of your home if you can. But it's also about your learning. It's about the kids doing their homework. It's all of those elements too. And the northwest, another one. I have to say, I love my northwest. It's about travel and it's about what we call helpful friends. Now, these aren't the friends that are going to come out for a drink with you on Friday night. These are the electrician who turns up just at the moment that you need the electric sorted out, or the guy who stops to help you change your tire, or the woman who just happens to have a spare loaf of bread just at the point where the supermarket's run out. And she says, oh, do you want this? These are your helpful friends. Some people call them angels. Sometimes they will be people who are often they're complete strangers. The other part of that is, of course, the travel. Now, like you, I love to travel. If I haven't got flight tickets sitting in my folder ready to go somewhere, I'm feeling a bit deprived. So if there's a place that you really want to visit and you feel that you're being stuck and there are obstacles to travel, then that's the place to rev up and get going for you. And finally, before you nod off, if we've got the center of the home, and the center is all about your health and your well-being. So if the center of your home is full of rubbish or recycling, or it's where you kick your dirty boots or you just leave stuff, that's going to impact on your health. It's going to hurt your well-being. You're not going to feel as positive, uplifted, and generally well in yourself as you could do. So essentially, we use this Bagua Map of your home to define what's going on in your life, to notice and to improve and boost the positivity around you. So in a very simple and a bit convoluted nutshell, that is your Feng Shui.
Now, before we dive into how people can actually use it to benefit their lives, can you share the story behind how you discovered this? And I also do know that your company is called Interiors Therapy. What inspired you to pursue this as a career?
As I said, I'm in my 50s, so we have to wind back many years, I regret to say. So back in the 80s, Feng Shui became a thing. And the reason it became a thing back in the 80s is because with Chairman Mao, all of the Feng Shui specialists and their masters had felt obliged to leave China. And they came to the West Coast of America. And they've got this amazing trade, this amazing skill where they can help people. Unfortunately, lots of Americans at that time, of course, we didn't have Google Earth and smartphone, couldn't cope with the compass direction. So somebody made up a DIY version, a very simple version of Feng Shui, which used the front door. And there were lots of books about it, and suddenly Feng Shui became a thing. So if we roll me back there in 1989, I've got married. We've got a house. It's my dream house. I didn't realize I'd manifested it, but I actually did. But things aren't going very well in that house. We lost babies, many miscarriages. My husband had some struggles of his, and it was just a really unlucky house for us. And I couldn't understand this because the place we'd lived in before had been happy. And then here we are in my picturesque dream cottage with roses around the door, and we're miserable. So I started looking to try and find out what was going on, and that led me to Feng Shui. And so I started implementing Feng Shui. Things got slightly better, did a bit more, better still. And then with a variety of very peculiar situations, meeting those helpful friends out of the blue, suddenly I'm pregnant and we have a healthy child. But then I realized that actually I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. And I can't tell you now whether it was the fact that house was so difficult to live in for me, or whether it was just that I couldn't be doing with the relationship anymore. But I left there, but Feng Shui has been a part of my life ever since. And with each house, I've noticed how it's worked and the things that have worked and the things that haven't worked. And I'd like to talk to you a bit about house types in Feng Shui. We can perhaps get to that. But that is my story, basically. I used Feng Shui. I moved on from a difficult situation. I used Feng Shui again. I got the great job. I used it again. I was able to buy a new house. I used it again, and so on and so forth. And so now here I am. I'm a best-selling author. I travel the world doing interiors therapy and Feng Shui. And I love the person that I have become. And different to that 20-something lost soul back in the late 80s, early 90s.
As a person that struggled with difficult relationship, what would you say is the first step that they should take to start fresh using Feng Shui?
I think first and foremost, be honest with yourself. A lot of people, they try to deny what's going on for them. As a woman, there are many toxic, very toxic relationships that I see. And quite often I look at somebody and I think you would really be better off on your own. And certainly for significant periods of my life, I have chosen to be on my own rather than deal with somebody else's challenging behavior. So how would I go about it? I think, as I say, you decide, do you want to be in this relationship and improve it? Or do you want to move on, start again, give yourself the life that you would choose? If you want to improve it, you go look at your southwest, the southwest of your home, and you see what's there. Is there art on the wall of single individuals, a cat, a house on its own? Whatever, something that is alone, a solitary person, that is going to define that you've got a lot of loneliness in your life, not just for you, but probably for your partner as well. So use pair energy. Pair energy is one of the most simple things that we can do in Feng Shui. You get 2 items, 2 cushions, 2 candlesticks, 2 pillows, and you put them together. And that is starting to generate the pair energy. Look also at the bedroom. So I will always look at the master bedroom as an extension of the relationship area, if you like. Does it feel great when you go into that space, or is it unbalanced? Is there a very large cabinet on one side of the bed and a small stool on the other? Is it equal? Because balance in a relationship is so very important. Also, is there a strong headboard that you can sit against, lean against? Is it comfortable? A metal headboard, a metal bed frame is not going to do any favors for your relationship at all. A slab that the energy gets through is draining you at night. So all of these things are then impacting on the sanctity, the security, the safety of your relationship. So if you want to rescue it, if actually this person is the one, it's just you're going for a sticky patch, let's look at the bedroom first of all. I can tell a lot about somebody's bedroom, about somebody's life, just from looking around their bedroom. And there are quite a few aha moments when that happens. It's just, oh yeah, you're a celibate, aren't you? Oh my God, how did you know? So yeah, think about pair energy, first of all, the bedroom second. If you've decided it's over, then there are other ways to manage that. Some of them I learned by accident, but it did very successfully finish off a very toxic relationship. But it didn't even cross my mind that I was doing it at the time. But clearly at a very subconscious level, I was guided to buy particular items and put them where my partner spent most of his time. And as a result, he started to feel very unwelcome in that house and left. Yeah, but as I said, it was a subconscious action that if I had been thinking clearly in my headspace, I would have recognized straight away. But actually, at that point, I had got so entrenched in a very toxic and narcissistic space. So I'd lost me, but at a surface level, but the subconscious just said, no, actually, let's do this, shall we? And it worked brilliantly. But that's something that I would only ever discuss with somebody one-to-one, having really coached them through where they were at, what they wanted to do and why they wanted to do it, because it was a very quick turnaround on going from being in a long-term relationship to being let loose on the world and everything just go, this is cool. But you need to be emotionally prepared for that, I think.
I agree with that as well, especially since we're using so many things that we think are helping us, and in
Yes.
truth, those things are destroying us.
Hmm.
Nowadays, even spirituality or personal development can be used as an escape mechanism. And you mentioned about, and it seems when your subconsciousness is aligned, you don't need to go nowhere to get results, what you're looking for. Do you have similar success stories from
Yes.
your clients that it had a significant impact on their life?
I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking about the messages I have received today. And this is, it's not every day I get this, but today I've had the message from the girl in the UAE to say that she's been filming a documentary that is going out on national television, but she's also been offered a new job in Saudi, which is going to massively increase her salary and give her opportunities to do more TV, more journalism. And she's also got the most amazing partner in her life. And everything has just neatly fallen into place since we did her feng shui. Another opposite, a young lad who's been really struggling with work. His parents called me in because they just couldn't cope with the stress and anxiety in their home any longer. He's now got a job. 6 weeks ago, they were ready to throw him out. He was written off as far as they were concerned. He's now so much more connected with himself. He spoke to me. He rang me yesterday and just said, I feel totally different. So those are the two things from this morning. And then I had another message overnight to say, we put our feng shui in 2 weeks ago. My husband's just got this new job. It's amazing. So it's all job related stuff this week. It's very peculiar that those are the things, but then interspersed is we're so much happier. We're feeling connected. Everything seems to be going right for us. Or the one that's best is I just feel so much happier now than I did before we did this. And that to me, that's how I feel. I know when the energy of my home is slightly portive and I respond to that. And sometimes I can just go down if I'm not in proper control of where I'm at. I can really go down and really resent that. And that'll interfere with my mind, my mood, my sleep. But then when I pull myself back and I just say, okay, what's not where it should be? And then everything just fits back into place. And it's like the whole apartment goes, okay, now we move forward. Yeah, there are so many stories. Seriously, it's just like, where do I start? There's a whole book full of stories of feng shui.
That's truly amazing. It seems the starting point is always to stop fighting yourself so the universe can stop fighting you as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, you work online, you also work locally. So, could you tell us how does those sessions are different and what can clients expect when they work with you online?
For sure. So with any client, before I agree to take a client on, we always do a video walk around of their home. So they will show me what's going on and I'll identify the things that they're not telling me because everybody wants to present themselves in one way, but there'll be an undercurrent that is actually the real issue that they can't voice, but I can spot in their home. So we'll do a walk around and I'll say, yes, your home's ready for feng shui. Or I might say, before we can do your feng shui, we really need to look at the interior therapy. And where we're looking at, it's not just the fabric of their home. That will tell me a lot about what's going on. But it's also their possessions. For example, if you've got some art, if you imagine those pictures that you get in the homes of airmen and soldiers, and it'll be a dogfight. You've got the bomber on one side and the bomber on the other. And they're probably not as frequent in the homes of the people that you hang out with as the people who come to me. But I can see a picture like that and I can know without a shadow of a doubt that in that part of the home, that's where the arguments always start. And so that's just okay. I know that you've got a challenging relationship here. If there are particular plants in particular areas of their home, I can see, so without a doubt, that they're struggling with exhaustion, with stress. If we've got burned out light bulbs, I know that they are burned out. They're just not coping. They're living in almost a self-inflicted darkness, because when the lights go out around them, that is also reflecting on what's going on in your body and your home. The things that they want to accomplish, they're just hitting brick wall after brick wall. So that's how we start. We'll do a walk around first, and then we'll say, yep, ready for Feng Shui, or no, we need to do some interiors therapy first. So those are two different avenues. Let's talk Feng Shui first. If they're going Feng Shui, then they receive a questionnaire. They fill that out. They send me some photos. We pinpoint their property on Google Earth. And then I do the report. Now, the report will take between 4 and 6 hours normally to do, because I'm tuning in energetically to the property. I'm assessing how it sits in the world, what we call the form of Feng Shui. What's going on around it? Is there a railway line running along the bottom of the garden? Are they on a fast road? Those things will be pulling energy away from the house. They at the end of a street, a dead end street? Is the energy stagnating around them? What shape is the garden of property? What's above them? What's around them? So I'm looking at all of these things. Google, a loot godsend. This is why we can work remotely now. We couldn't have done it remotely without Google Earth, but it's making a world of difference. So then when they've got all of that information, I pull it all together into a report, which is about 46 pages long. And then that goes out to them. And then we sit for an hour on a Zoom call like this, and we'll go through the report page by page so they understand what they're doing. We talk about what solutions they might already have present in their home that we can perhaps move from one place to another. Again, that's a really good reason for me seeing what's going on in their homes. There's no guesswork. It's me saying, hey, that red throw that you've got on the sofa, could you move it to that chair? It can be as simple as that. For me, the remedies, the Feng Shui remedies, which are all elemental. It's no sort of funny frogs or dodgy wind chimes or anything like that. It's all elements. It's stone. It's wood in the form of plants. It might be fiery colors. It might be water. Can you do that with a fish tank or a pet feeding bowl? And metal. And that's what it says on the tin. It's the metal that's put into this particular area of your home. So we go through the report, and then they put the remedies in, and then we'll chat again 6 weeks later, and we'll celebrate what they've achieved. And we are celebrating, which is always a good thing. If they put it in, things work out. If they shortchange themselves, if they do it with half measures and they think, oh, I don't want to do that. Sorry, lovely. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. But if you don't put the remedies in, I can't promise you it's going to work. So that's your Feng Shui. Very simple. If it's local in the UK, or if I'm invited to go abroad, I do that. I love working in Europe. I love working in America in person. All good. If we're going the interiors therapy route, then if we're doing it online, we'll do it in 3-hour blocks, because that's really as much as a client can manage without feeling quite overwhelmed by it all, because the energy is really shifting around them with everything that they're doing. If I'm working in person doing interiors therapy, that is a very different animal. We will probably potentially do a 10-hour day, and I'm holding the energy for my clients throughout. So for example, tomorrow I'm driving to a place an hour or so away, And I will work with that client and we will go through everything in their home that is not supporting them, or as much as we can do in that day. And they will clear a huge amount of stuff emotionally, physically, and energetically that's holding them back or holding them in the path. My remit tomorrow is to put the son of the family in a position where he is in a better place to have a quality, healthy relationship. But at the same time, to reignite the relationship between his parents, which has got a little bit stale. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow, bringing the love back.
That's very intriguing. And if you could give one piece of advice to someone looking to transform their life by transforming the space, what would it be?
It would always, first and foremost, be deal with the clutter. The reason that my company is called interiorstherapy.com is because dealing with the stuff isn't as simple as doing a little bit of decluttering, because in 6 weeks, that clutter will all be back. And this is why I do it so much differently. I get people to look at each item they own and ask yourself, do you need it? Do you use it? Do you love it? And if the answer is no, why is it taking up real estate in your home? Unless you're a digital nomad going from place to place, you are paying rent or you're paying a mortgage to live in that space. And if you fill your home with stuff that you're not using, you don't need, and you don't love, it's just mess. And the thing is, mess can be, or clutter can be big. It can be, we were talking earlier, weren't we? And I said about this mug. This is a very beautiful mug. I love this mug. However, if this mug was something that an ex-boyfriend had given me and the relationship had ended badly, whenever I look at this mug, I will think of him, only for a fraction of a second and at a subconscious level. But that will bring my mood down by this just tiny bit. If I love this mug, great. But if it's something that was given to me, or it came from a previous job, or just something that brought me down in any way, shape, or form, then I'm going to say, let that go. So it's not what somebody would traditionally regard as clutter. It's not a pile of old newspapers or some plastic takeout dishes. It's a physical thing that can be used elsewhere, but it's better out of your home and being used by somebody else than keeping you in a place that you don't want to be. Problem is, of course, that if we've been divorced or our relationship has ended, if there's been long-term sickness, we'll have all of these connections to stuff all around us in every room of our home. And in every single way, they are bringing us down slightly. And that's when people get depression and overwhelm and anxiety in their homes. So yeah, that's a very long answer to your very short question. Tackle the clutter, but do it the interior therapy way so it's gone permanently.
So, what are some practical tips to tackle the clutter, especially if you feel overwhelmed with the information, with the attachments, and just liking the stuff that you own?
So start with the easy wins. That's the thing. So don't ever tackle the stuff that will break your heart to let go. We don't ever do the sentimental items first. Every home I've found so far has a junk drawer. It's the place where you stick the random batteries and that black bit that probably dropped off something that you don't know what it was. And then 4 years later, it's still there and you've never found what cable it attached to. So start with the junk drawer because it's one that really doesn't have a great deal of emotional connection to it. That's an easy way. That's an easy win.
So-
If I'm working, sorry, go on.
Go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm working, so with a man or a woman in their own home, I'll often start with their own wardrobe because everything that is in that wardrobe is theirs. It's for them to decide what they want to do with it. So say for the sake of argument, you pull out a shirt and you just say, tell me about this shirt. And they'll say, oh yes, I wore that to this event. It was really amazing. I loved it. Great. That shirt is staying as long as it still fits and it's in good condition. If they say, oh, I wore that to my aunt's funeral. It was a really bad day. It was awful. The button popped off and you can see that it's got this unhappy attachment. then that goes. And the thing is, once we've got through a wardrobe, you are so tuned in to how this or that, it becomes easy to do the rest of the stuff. And then as you get, I talk about honing the muscle. It's honing your interiors therapy muscle so that you then look at everything around you. What is this doing for me? Is it working for me? Yes, no, out it goes. Not sure. Put it in a box and look at it again in 6 weeks and see if you've missed it, because the odds are that you haven't. And then you just send the whole lot off to charity, or you recycle it, you send it to Goodwill, or if it really has no life left in it, only then do you send it to trash.
There are countless traditional decluttering methods. How does interiors therapy differ from them, and what psychological aspects does it address that the other approaches might overlook?
That is such a good question. Thank you for that one. Interiors therapy is a 5-step process. And the first step is about having clarity. It is really what we've just been talking about, understanding how something makes you feel, whether you use it, whether you need it, whether you love it, whether it is adding to your life. How is this thing serving you? And if the answer is that it isn't serving you, then it has no place in your home. Simple as that. The second stage is clutter. It's identifying what really is clutter. And that is like those takeaway containers, the empty cartons. In a lot of houses and young families where the children have outgrown the plastic beakers, you will still have a cupboard of plastic beakers. And that's now clutter. So let's let that go. And then the next stage is to clear. And this is where we deep clean the home. We show the home some love, because if you think about it, how often do you really get behind cupboards, behind the bed, under the bed, to really deep clean the space? This is where you show the home some love and you bring some sparkle back into it. And this next stage is where we totally differ from, because you could say, oh, people declutter and then they clean. Yeah. Well, they haven't done it with clarity. That's the first thing. That's the major difference. Then they don't consolidate. So they say, Aristotle said, nature abhors a vacuum. And if you think about it, if you clear a patch of land, if you weed a patch of land, but you don't put anything to grow in it, it's going to be covered in weeds again in 6 weeks' time, isn't it? It's the same with your home. If you empty stuff out of it, if you but you don't upgrade the energy within the home so that the energy comes in to fill that gap, then you will just bring in more clutter. So this is where we use Feng Shui. And if you're of an energetic persuasion, we'll also do a space clearing ceremony. And the space clearing ceremony just essentially whooshes out any residual negative energy that's hanging around in corners. If you've got cobwebs hanging in corners or dust, that's saying to me that the energy is stagnating, it's stuck there. You are not getting the benefits that you deserve from your home. So let's wave goodbye to all of those things. Space clearing is epic. It's just like the place, it gets lighter, it gets brighter. This is also when we can put our love and our thoughts into the house and start the manifesting process, which comes with the final step in interior therapy, which is to create the life that you want for yourself. And so we use the law of attraction, we use coaching, we use creation in all sorts of ways, whatever works for the person. Visualization, it could be making a manifesto for love if they're interested in finding a new partner. It could be creating a manifesto for a job if what they want to do is change things up a bit. I know of one girl who made a manifesto for a job 6 years ago, and there was a particular global company on this manifesto. She was not long out of university. To go from here, at just coming out of university, to here, going into this particular place was a big stretch. But she put it on her list and she got a job. They found her on LinkedIn. How they found her, God only knows, but they found her and recruited her for this job. This is not the same company, different company. recruited her for this job. And she's gone up and up and up and up. And now her company has been taken over by the company that she originally set on her manifesto. And she is just literally waltzing into a high-level job in that company with zero effort on her part.
So clutter is not just clutter, it's harmful for the health, the success, and relationships.
Thing.
You mentioned about attachments to things given to us by our previous partners. What is it about letting go of those possessions that opens up space for new opportunities?
Let's talk about a bed, shall we? Just as an example of this. So the bed is where you are at your most intimate with a partner, a sexual partner. And when you sleep, your body excretes DNA in the form of skin cells, sweat, all of those elements. It goes into the mattress, it goes into the duvet, it goes into the pillow. Now, when that relationship ends, if you're still sleeping in that same bed, you are sleeping with the energy of your previous partner. And that's not much fun, because then if you bring in somebody else into your life and you're sharing that same bed, you've got the energy of the new person and your previous partner and you, and it can start to feel quite crowded in that situation. And the interesting thing is, you'll quite often find that the new partner behaves in a very similar way to the previous partner, because they are taking on board that energy as well. So when you finish a very significant relationship, I always say, change your bed, or at least the mattress and the bedding that you put onto it, because you do not want to be sleeping with your ex for the next 6 years while you're trying to create a new, loving, healthy relationship with a new person in your life. And where you've got these trigger things around you, that, as say one of the pictures behind me, say for the sake of argument, that was a picture of me taken by my ex. Now, I might think, oh, that's an amazing picture. I love it. I look really good that day. But every time I look at that picture, I'm seeing the person on the other side of the camera, the person who took that picture. So his energy is constantly with me. And if you've got the energy of somebody from your past, when you're trying to make something new for your future or your present, it's not going to work. So I always say, especially if it's finished in a toxic way or a divorce way, widowing is slightly different. Let that stuff go. Do not hold on to it for any reason. Don't hold on to a wedding dress or your wedding ring if your marriage has ended in a bad way. If you were in a marriage and your beloved, a really genuinely beloved partner has died, and they will always be in your heart, that's slightly different. I'm not saying to you, throw away every photograph or throw away your wedding ring. But what I am saying is package it up, put it into the east of your home, because it represents, and if you want to move forward into a new relationship, when you're good and ready, and there is never any rush. If it takes you 20 years, if it takes you 30 years, that's fine. But then when you're ready to open your heart to somebody new, something new, then you're in a healthy position to do that. But so many people jump out of one relationship into another. They think that they're not whole if they don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And actually, my view is you have to be whole and love yourself just as you are, whatever size, whatever shape, whatever age, whatever saggy bits you've got, until you can love and respect yourself for the person you are. How on earth do you expect somebody really special to love and respect you?
You cannot give what you don't, and it seems that Feng Shui is a way to reprogram our environment, in which, as a result, it reprograms our subconsciousness. So where do you see interiors therapy and Feng Shui going in the next few years? And how do you plan to evolve your practice?
Oh, now that is a good question. Certainly working more widely. So I'm going back to the USA in November to work with some more clients there. If you're watching in the USA and you would like me to come and work with you, let me know, because I do have some gaps. So my plan is that there are a number of people who are starting the training process with me so that they can understand how to use interiors therapy in conjunction with their feng shui. And I'm also, funnily enough, doing the feng shui for a lot of qualified feng shui practitioners, because they want the extra layer that my knowledge and understanding will give them. So it's really about bringing more people on board so that I can have representatives in different parts of the world. So I don't have to go there all the time, or I can pick and choose the locations that I visit. But then also doing some more collaboration. So I have a lady I work with in Australia. So doing some more collaborative work with her. And the ideal would be to have a TV show, which is something that I'm working towards.
That's amazing. And for those in audience that are listening right now, if they want to know more about Feng Shui or your work, how can they connect with you and where they can find you?
So the easiest way is to find my website, which is interiorsTherapy.com. Or you can Google my name, Suzanne Roynon. You'll bring your way to me one way or another. You'll also find me on Facebook, and you'll find me on Instagram at interiors_therapy. It's quite difficult to avoid me if you want to find me, but I'm very much of the view that people find me when they are ready for their lives to improve and get better. And then I am delighted to welcome them into the world of interiors therapy.
Amazing. In the end, all flowers bloom in due time, and you cannot speed up the process. Thank you for
Absolutely.
joining, and thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for another episode.